So we need to firstly identify who's going to be our spokesperson, I suppose.
Shall I do it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So how do you want to do this? Do you all want to just talk generally, or do you want to go one by one and say what you think or where your areas of concern are? How do you want to handle this? Because we're all in this virtual world.
Should we start with a show of hands to get an idea of where we're at?
Yeah.
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 So all of those who think the defendant is not guilty, raise their hand.
I'm still debating
it. Okay, and I take it the rest of you are all firmly decided in favour of guilt. You're firmly decided in favour of guilt.
Yeah.
So how many of you are 50-50?
50-50.
Or have doubt?
Yeah, I've got doubt. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay.
I think we've got work to do here. I think we haven't got enough evidence, I don't feel, to in a real court system. I'd be wanting CCTV from that garage.
Yeah.
But you may not have
independent witness.
I know.
I suppose that might just be all you get, right? You might not have anything more than this.
Yeah.
I suppose from my perspective, as someone who's pretty sure I'd say guilty at this stage, I kind of feel like if you get out of the car with a weapon in your hand, but I don't at all believe the idea of wanting an apology. I think he was angry and he had a weapon in his hand, and everything that happened after that was due to him leaving the car with a weapon in his hand, angry, and to me that's guilty.
But is that your judgment?
No, I think it's bringing a weapon to an argument. I think that's something different than poor judgment. Poor judgment. If he got out to have a fist fight with him, I'd probably be saying not guilty. But since he had a weapon in his hand, consciously wanting to confront him with a weapon, if then the weapon turned out to hurt somebody, that seems pretty bang to rights to me.
But he was saying he took the weapon out, didn't he, to sort of ward him off, and he just kept going on and on and on.
But if he wanted to get away from him, he could have left.
Exactly. That's the bit for me, and the fact that he could have driven straight off if he was so worried about his aunt, and also, it was so unbelievable the fact that he happened to have the wheel braced in his lap, and then it just sort of came with him. That just doesn't, that it was a choice to take that with him.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely.
And he wasn't.
There's a dispute about whether he could drive off or not, wasn't there? The aunt says he was blocked.
But he didn't.
No, he didn't say that.
David.
My view is that he knew that there was a real risk of violence. That's why he took the metal implement with him. He appreciated that there was a real risk of that, and that's why I put the question, because I think that he was furious at what had happened. He realised there might be a chance of a fight, so that's why he took it with him, and it was obvious that what was going to happen from everything that happened before.
Can I make a point about the carjack, please? I agreed with. I can't see names or numbers, so I'm not sure. But I agreed with the point that the lady in the grey-looking car. Yes. Thank you. Yes, I agree with the focus that you put on the carjack as a weapon. And one thing that struck me was questions from the defence lawyer to the person they're calling the victim, the Stuart Sellen. The defence lawyer asked Stuart Sellen lots of questions and implied lots of anger and bad language and threat and aggression. The one thing she didn't ask any questions about to Mr. Sellen was the carjack. What she was trying to do, I thought, was to steer attention away from the carjack, to diminish the significance of the carjack. And it seems to me that that adds weight to the point that the carjack was about to be used as a weapon. Thank you.
Can I say something? I don't think the two brothers were as angelic as they made out. And I'm sure there were a lot of angry words said. But like others, I think that the fact that he stopped, took out the carjack, and I don't quite follow this thing about it happened to be in his hand, but I think that's a threatening weapon, and I think he used it and was intending to use it. I don't think it was a self-defense thing at all, personally. I mean, I'm sure it was an angry moment and things happen very swiftly, but I think somebody, you don't take a carjack with you or whatever, just willy-nilly. I think you go with intent myself.
Yes, and if you've got a vulnerable person with you, the last thing one would sensibly want to do is to incite violence. The two things don't add up. If he's using his aunt as a reason for making the original move away, it just doesn't stack up to stop, go back and start the whole thing up again, does it?
No. So what you're saying is that the taking of the carjack was disproportionate in the entirety of the circumstances.
Yes.
And the point, I think, I feel like it's really important to pay attention to the moment where the judge says, was his behaviour, did he feel under threat at the moment where he moved into the conflict? And I don't think he did feel under threat at that point, because he was in a car and he was driving away. And whether or not they had to stop for 15 seconds before there was a space to pull out onto the Vauxhall Bridge Road is immaterial. No one has suggested that the two rude posh brothers were chasing after them at that point.
No.
They were standing on the forecourt in a not really furious way, but there was no real threat going forward at that point. That was just a moment of unpleasantness in the past.
Yeah.
I suppose he felt humiliated, didn't he?
Sorry?
I'm not saying, I'm not justifying it, but I would think he probably felt there was two of them. He was on his own. He probably felt humiliated. He probably felt a lesser person. And in a fit of pique, he stopped and went back and was going to confront them. And I think it escalated because he's got that Jack with him as his best friend. Rather, he hadn't got anybody else with him, so he took that with him, didn't he? And I do think he made a mistake because he did stop and he did take a weapon with him. So although it's very sad, I think he probably is wrong. I think he's guilty.
The things that I was trying to weigh up with that is I think it would be really difficult to leave the car carrying a wheelbase without realising you've got it.
Yeah.
Because I think if you weren't genuinely holding it, you get out of the car and it would simply drop back into the footwell where you got it from.
Yeah.
So I don't think I believe that. But I'm still weighing up the problem of, did he leave with intent to someone with it? Or did he leave with pique, as you say, in anger to say, no, actually, I don't want to leave it like this, that I can still hear them shouting. Remember, here. It's not an enclosed space. I can still hear them shouting. They're still going. And I want an apology out of it. Because the thing that is, I suppose, the only solid argument you've got from the defence case, as Miss Cottage said at the end, if he genuinely wanted to strike someone with a wheelbase, he'd have done a hell of a lot more damage than he did.
Yes.
So it was clearly only used in a glancing blow while they were flailing.
Yes.
But I don't know whether that's that doesn't resolve the issue, because it's not that he had to commit. That's
very competent at using a
wheel. The law's not always fair, though, is it?
Well, the question for me, we're asked to consider: did Mr. Hallett actually believe he was under attack or under threat of attack? Now, at what point did he need to believe that? Did he need to believe it when he got out of the car, or when he swung the wheel jack? And he did seem to be under attack at the point where he swung the wheel jack.
It must have been behind the wheel, Jack. Sorry, David.
That's why I asked the question I asked, because the judge's direction, paragraph 7, didn't, for me, resolve that issue. I didn't understand his direction when and what exactly was meant by the intention here, and I didn't know whether he had to believe it at the point he got out of the car or believe it when he got to the confrontation itself. But the judge seemed to give us a very clear steer. He didn't allow the defence counsel to address him, but there was a very clear direction.
Yeah, it's the reckless bit, I believe. You know, if it was an intention, it was reckless, and his intention doesn't matter if it's reckless. It still means he's guilty, is what I understood from the judge's direction.
I think the problem is,
but if he was under attack, and if he believed he was under attack at the time he utilised the wheel brace. If we then look at subsection C, 7C, what's the amount of force in the circumstances as he believed them to be, and in the moment reasonable, which brings us back to the extent of the injury that was delivered.
I think the injury
go for it and take his head off. He would have taken his head off with that wheel brace.
Right. Well, unless they were flailing about. I mean, at one stage, 2 brothers came in, and if they were waving their arms and tried to get it off, he might have swung a jack at him, and he might have tried to fend it off, and it might have just grazed him rather than. I mean,
precisely.
But I just don't think you get out of a car with a wheel brace, and you're not intending to use it.
But what if he'd warded them off and they had backed off?
Yeah, but that's not the point, is it?
It is, rather. That's what he believes. He's taken it out. What if that's what's going to happen? He's going to ward them off. I just think he was going to use that wheel brace. He'd have taken their head off.
Yeah. I think you've got to go back to the question. They've got to go back to the question, haven't you? Did Mr. Hallett actually believe that he was under attack?
Well, he didn't believe he was under attack and got out of the car.
No.
So I think if you fall at that fence, you know, you go through it logically.
And the point as to whether he would have taken Guy's head off if he'd used the wheel brace, he would have if he'd been competent, strong and tall. But he may not have been as effective at using a wheel brace as he kind of hoped he might be.
Also, I believe when he got out of the car, there was just the one brother there. So I see it as maybe he thought he could scare or aggress an apology out of him. And then when the second brother stepped in to defend him, it all went wrong. So it's unfortunate, but I don't think he should have got out of that car with a weapon to try and by fear or by force get his way. I think that has to be wrong.
But what about that point when the second brother intervenes?
Sorry.
No, sorry, you go ahead.
I was just saying that's not the offence he's being tried for.
No.
He's not being tried
for... If that brother's intervened, what do we do about that? The second brother launches on, so there's 2 on him by himself.
But those brothers aren't on trial in this instance.
But it's his reasonable belief at the time, isn't it? As to when those 2 are launching an attack at him, and it's during the course of that subsequent attack that he then actually utilises the wheel brace, or it appears to be used.
I would say that if he's brought a weapon, that the brothers were defending themselves against someone carrying a weapon.
Yeah,
if both had weapons, it would be different.
Why couldn't they run away?
If it had been in the middle of a scuffle and he reached for a weapon and hit them, that's different. But to take a weapon out of the car is almost premeditated because why are you taking it? If it had been a gun, or whatever, why was he taking it with him? He wasn't taking it to change his wheel, was he? He was taking it as either something to use as an instrument to attack or to defend himself with.
And or to threaten them with.
Can I just raise another point, which I think is slightly curious, because I've done this 3 times now, and I'm still not sure what the order is. You've got Stuart Sellon saying that he grabbed him around the neck, and then there's the scuffle, and then brother 2 comes along, and then the metal brace is used in some way. The defendant says there's no way I could have possibly grabbed him around the neck because he was tall. And maybe there was some embellishment of quite what the difference in size was. But does it make any difference to what we're saying about the intent with the wheel brace if he gets grabbed around the neck first?
No, I don't think so. Because
surely, if you're going with the wheel brace, you'd use that first rather than grabbing someone around the neck, wouldn't you?
If you'd been on the forecourt and you watched everything that had happened, and you saw him stop his car and get out with a wheel brace, you would be saying to him, "Don't go with that wheel brace."
Yeah,
attack them after everything. It's common ground that there was a dispute. It doesn't really matter who caused it. There had been a dispute and there was bad blood.
Yeah.
Can we just go back to that interesting point you were making about the wheel brace and the neck grabbing? Because it's not really physically possible to hold a wheel brace and grab someone's neck at the same time.
No. I mean, you'd probably end up strangling them with the thing, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I pictured it more that it would be one hand around the neck and then the other hand threatening with the wheelbase, "Give me my apology." And that was his plan, and it all went wrong, perhaps. Because he had to have the wheelbase in his hand for the whole time. He had no time to put it down and pick it up again to strangle him with both hands. I think it's an inconsistency in the.
There were no marks on. I was just going to say, in the report, the medical report, there was no marks around his neck, wasn't it? It was just his head wound and his ribs or abdomen. There was no bruising or recorded around the neck.
Yeah. But
we're getting close on time.
I'm not sure.
It creates a problem because it seems awkward that he was grabbed around the neck, and if he wasn't grabbed around the neck, then we've got a problem with the credibility of the complainant's evidence.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm no more sure than I was when we started the conversation, which isn't enough to convict.
No, I'm not sure.
But I guess the point around, in terms of being provoked and getting out of the car did he believe he was under attack when he got out of the car with a weapon? Mm-hmm. From evidence on both sides, there's nothing. I mean, apart from some swearing and obviously some, name calling, is that enough to provoke the, and taking out within a choice? You're choosing to take out the car and an instrument and intending to. That's the bit you keep coming back to. Is he chose to take that out of the car and to defend it? Well, to defend and make harm, presumably harm someone.
So what you're really saying is,
the problem we've got is he didn't just get out of the car, walk up to someone and whack them around the head with it. He got out of the car, there was more argument and discussion of some kind. There's then some kind of scuffle. Another person comes along and gets involved in the scuffle, and then there's a glancing blow with a wheel brace. So for me, it's really hard to follow A, choosing to come out of the car with a wheel brace, with B, the actual incident that occurs.
Yes, agreed.
It doesn't help us to what actually, then happens and the injuries that are sustained.
Jodie, if you just had an argument with somebody and a few minutes later you see them walking towards you with a wheel brace, what do you think they're going to do?
With it.
Well, I, as the potential victim of it, feel pretty terrified.
What was the direction?
It's not about what I think, it's about what they're doing, isn't it?
But in answer to the question which I put to the judge, would it be obvious to anybody watching that the person being walked towards would think they're about to be attacked? Because the judge has given us a direction. If that's the case, he's guilty. Yes. Because everything flows.
He's the aggressor, and if as the aggressor suddenly a second person comes along, it doesn't suddenly make it self-defense to me. If you come off best or worst, if you're the aggressor at the beginning, there's only one reason to carry that wheel brace out of that car. And I don't know that unless any of us really believe that it was magically in his hand without noticing, which I don't think any of us do, I feel I agree with David. If he was moving it,
he's not walking towards me with a wheel brace to say, "Let's all be friends." That's not what I'm thinking.
No,
I think
it's also the fact that he could have driven away. I mean, the fact that he stopped and took out the wheel brace, to me, just seems like an aggressive move. I mean, no doubt the brothers probably deserved it in a sense. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a pleasant thing, the whole setup, but I think he was the aggressor going in to level up his ego or whatever it might be. But I think, I think you don't stop a car, take out a wheel brace, and you're, pure as day.
And it's had the history.
If you
of
follow the
threatening.
directions, if you look at the directions, then paragraph 7A, if you take the point of exit of the vehicle as being the point at which he thought he was under attack, it fails at 7A, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
If you take the point of the aggression as being when he's actually on the forecourt in front of them, so he's already armed, it's more difficult, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, well, I say it must be.
The
charge is malicious wounding, so the point where his belief is relevant is the point at which he maliciously wounds someone, which is at the point at which he swung the jack,
it's this point
not
at which
when he got out of the car.
Yeah.
No, well, is it? Because isn't it at the point that he took the instrument with him that he felt?
Yeah, but I could get out of a car and say, "Fuck off, fuck right off." With my wheel brace.
It's very persuasive on this screen, Caroline.
No, but I think a wheel brace is a bit sort of like not a pen, is it?
Right, in my view, I'd take out the car jack.
I know I keep reminding you of this, but you are making the distinction between the point at which he leaves the car and the attack itself, which is why I asked the question. And those questions there have to be read with the gloss of the answer to my question given by the judge.
Yes, but
which the defence counsel queried, and I think in her shoes, I would be querying it as well.
I think her query was really, indicative that she was aware that her case fell apart. If the point, and the judge was very clear that the action that we're interested in begins with the getting out of the car.
Whereas a lot of what she went into, she was questioning, like you say, the beginning, them being rude and shouting. She didn't really concentrate on something changed from the moment he got out with that wheel brace to the moment he saw there was two of them. That wasn't even really discussed. And that wasn't the crux of her argument or her defence.
No. But, they might well have been the aggressor if we were tracking the thing from the very first moment where he loomed over Auntie Colette and asked for the music to be turned down. That might have been the brothers as the aggressors. But at the point where he got out of the car with the wheel jack, he was the aggressor. He initiated whatever happened next.
I think the thing is, at the point that he picked up the wheel brace, did he believe he was under attack?
No, he
didn't.
No, he didn't even say that was the case, did he? He went for an apology.
Yeah, he put himself
with a wheel brace. Why did he take a wheel brace? Do you know what I mean? Why not a fist? Or, why the moment he got out of the car and he picked up the wheel brace to take with him, did he feel under threat? I would say no, he didn't. He was angry, he was miffed, and he didn't like what had happened. And he picked it up to go and use it as an instrument to make them apologise. And unfortunately, it went wrong. Well, when you carry a wheel brace, and sadly, I think you've lost you're in the wrong place with the wrong thing. But regardless of all the if, whats, and maybes, he's got an instrument to use premeditated as violent for a violent cause. And. So my view is that he sadly, just in the points of what we've got here in front of us, I feel it was unlawful.
Would it be worth taking a poll of where we all stand?
Yeah.
Those of you who are still unsure, raise your hand.
Well, unsure he's guilty is what I'm putting my hand up for.
If you're not sure.
Was that 4 of us?
Raise your hand. That's still the 4. Yeah. Okay. I take, and the those remaining, those who think the Crown have proved their case that he's guilty.
Are we missing someone?
No, that's 8.
You can't see yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Sad to report, on that basis, just looking in his direction, paragraph 8, the only verdict I can accept is one in which you are all agreed. So I think at the minute we don't really have a verdict. Should we send a message through?
Yep.
I agree. I don't think we're going to get any further on, do you?
No, I don't. Should we?
Sorry, everyone.
Who can do the typing? Jodie, can you do the typing?
I'll do the typing. What would you like me to say? That we're
just simply say that we can't agree on our verdict. All of us, we can't agree on a verdict.
Maybe say we have a majority verdict.
We've got a majority, yeah, but not a unanimous.
We don't have a majority.
We don't have a majority. There are 4 of us.
Do we? Because we are all lay people.
Unless we can ask for direction from the judge on the point of when was the actual moment of was it getting out of the car, or was it when he was in the scuffle?
Go on, Jodie, type the question.
Right.
At which point are we to consider?
At which point
are we to consider? When it was that Mr. Hallett believed that he was under attack or under the threat of attack.
Yeah.
Is it at the point he gets out of the car? Sorry?
Is it belief or formed the belief?
It says actually believe.
No, in the question you're putting it.
Yeah.
In
I'm
your
just repeating.
Oh, see, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Just reading 7. So is it the point at which he gets out of the car with the
instrument,
jack wheel brace, or is it at the point that he uses it? Does that cover that question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let me just read that back. At which point are we to consider when it was that Mr. Hallett believed that he was under attack or under the threat of attack? Is it the point at which he gets out of the car with the instrument, or is it at the point when he uses it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's clear, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Very clear.
Question for the judge, please.
They're whipping us back in a minute.
Well, they will. They'll have to have an acquittal if we don't get an answer to this question.
I voted the jury usher here. Just to let you know.
I'd like to know what the real verdict was. Will we know? Will you tell us?
Well,
it's not a
we've
real
got the reference to
Oh,
it.
it's not a real. I thought it might be an old historical one. Change the names for this, whatever.
Hello, jurors. It's a jury usher.
I just thought it might be an old case that they just sort of. We used to do when I used to do housing interviews. We used to get old cases out and retract all the names and that.
Right. Sorry, Martin, I can hear you coming in. We've asked a question to the judge, if he could please have a look at it.
Yes. Okay.
We're not agreed.
I'm just going to talk to the team and confirm whether that involves bringing you guys back into the court. So if if you sit tight for a moment, I'll come back to you. Thanks.
Thank you. No, it's a training exercise which is used for training student barristers. So it's entirely fictional as far as I know.
Just had word back, folks. Yes, you will be brought back into the court. So if you sit tight, and you might want to go on to mute unless you're addressed by the judge or the clerk. And in terms of layouts, if you want to go to that layout of speaker only, if you're not already on it, that will give you the layout that you had before with the court, speaker only. So yes, brace yourselves to, you're coming back in now.
No, I can't get it to anything at the moment.
Just to confirm again, if you could all make sure you're muted, please. I think I can still hear a couple of clicky noises. Hi, folks. It's the jury usher again. Just to confirm, if you could all take yourselves off mute, and if we just, once again, just check that you can all see each other and hear each other. So you might want to go through the numbers, or maybe, yeah, whichever.
Okay. Can everyone hear?
Yes. 6 is okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Caroline.
Hi. I'm just not sure when he got out of the car if he was just trying to be, yeah, fuck off. I'm just not sure.
But if it helps at all, what we've been told is not what we were told, I don't think,
Exactly.
at the end in answer to my question.
Yeah.
And I don't now think I can be sure, because what's troubling me before was his state, his recklessness.
Yeah.
I think he may have been a blithering idiot who got out of the car without thinking, but did something rather stupid, and I'm now for not guilty on the basis I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I just think anybody who gets out of the car with looking for some sort of apology, retribution, or whatever, and grasps a nasty weapon, hadn't, he was not going to have tea and cake, was he?
No, I still don't believe you bring a wheeljack to get an apology or have a conversation at all.
Threatening. It's quite threatening.
Yeah, I agree that whether or not he's an idiot, he clearly is an idiot, but it's also an act of aggression to enter that confrontation with a large metal object.
Yeah. And that's what he said, aggression. He didn't say he was definitely, if he wanted to hit the man the moment he got out of the car, he said his intention was
mind. Yeah.
And there was no other reason other than aggression for him to get out, go back from the car, weapon in hand, other than aggression. So that's made me more sure, if anything. Guilty.
I agree. I feel more sure.
Me too.
Yeah, I feel he's guilty. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So we've
how many people got? Yeah, should we do?
So guilty.
Right.
Guilty.
Can we just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, we're not going to get to a verdict then.
No.
We've still got 4 of us, haven't we?
Yeah.
There's a different 4 this time, but we've still got 4 of us. Well,
it's good though. It's been nice.
No, it's not. It's the same 4, isn't it? Oh no, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I just think he had, he stopped the car. He didn't drive home. He stopped the car. He got a vulnerable person with him. If I had a vulnerable person with me, I would not be stopping the car.
Exactly.
There's 2 of them. He took an instrument, and he had temper, whether it was for an apology or whatever. But he wanted to remonstrate. He wasn't going there to say, "Please, would you be kind to my nice dear cousin?" He was going there to put his point in a forceful way because he was taking that implement with him to do business. He wasn't going there to change a tyre. He picked something up quite purposely. Anybody who picks up a purposeful weapon, he's very dangerous. And I feel, should be accountable for that. We may all do stupid things, but we have to be accountable for it. This is a civilised society. And if people go around with wheel braces willy-nilly without being accountable, what sort of world do we live in?
There's a significant piece of evidence, which just a slightly different point, which may help and make vacillating. The aunt told us that they had to stop because they couldn't get out. Now, there's an inconsistency in the evidence there. It's an important piece of inconsistency because it points towards what he was about. If, in fact, he could have got out and there was no reason for stopping, what was he doing? Why was she for saying he couldn't leave straight away? Well,
but it was an empty place. There was no customers. They'd already agreed that. They already said earlier that he went into there, he did his check or whatever. So there was no customers generally on there. There's no independent witnesses. Where are the independent witnesses?
I think that's got nothing to do with it. You've got to look at the evidence that we've got, really, I think. Well, we have.
Yeah, but you haven't. You've got one person who said he couldn't get out. But even if you couldn't get out, that doesn't mean to say you have to get out your car and go back and just tussle with somebody who's told you you're smelly. Good God, that's the world.
That's the point.
The defendant did not claim that there was any problem exiting the petrol station. It was the aunt that said that.
Yeah.
But when the defendant was questioned, he didn't make that claim.
No. Also, I'd just like to say, when he originally talked about the jackhammer or whatever it was, he said he got it out because he had it in this car. He placed it on his lap because the guy was being aggressive and he wanted him to scare him off. So from the moment he reached for that, found it, touched it, he knew that it was to be a scary, aggressive weapon to get his way in the argument.
Yeah, I get that.
And also in the statement, the prosecution called it when I got close to him. So he got out of the car intentionally with the scanner and walked towards him. It wasn't in retreat. It was, proactively going to get him as well.
But he was going to have to walk towards him if he was going to ask for some sort of conversation to continue.
Yeah. He could have shouted it. Give me an apology. He could even have shouted it waving the wheeljack from a standing position. Whoa, he had
I just think I'm still, but all of that is fine, but I'm still stuck on what then actually takes place. Because we don't have that there is a scuffle between people.
But that's not what it's about, is it?
There's some sort of grabbing around the throat thing, and then when there are two people there, that's when the wheel brace is used.
But the judge said it's what was his state of mind when he got out of the car. That's where you start from. All the rest is really academic.
Well,
what was he thinking when he got out of that car?
I'm not sure that his state of mind when he got out of the car was that he was actually going to use it. He may have picked it up.
No, but it's aggression, not using it. You just said aggression. He's definitely trying to use it.
I still don't think when he got out of the car that the Crown have made out their case on what I've heard.
I agree, because I don't think what follows is a clearly aggressive action. It's a scuffle. I don't think what happens helps us particularly with his state of mind. Other than the fact that he leaves carrying a wheel brace, we haven't got a clean incident where he walks up to someone and thumps them, does whatever. It's a mess.
We've got a vulnerable person in the car. You know, if somebody came up to you with a wheel brace in their hand and you just
I'd run a mile.
You know, what would you think they were thinking? Oh, can I just have a nice apology, please? Or would you think they might give me a thumping headache?
Well, you might think that, but that's not.
Well, we can only go on what we
use the evidence we have.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to agree, are we?
No,
I think that's
not.
the problem. I'm sorry. I'm just not sure, and I don't think Caroline is. I don't know. David, have you changed your mind?
I've gone back to guilty, to be honest.
Right.
Oh, I'm still not
anyway,
sure.
may I just say,
We're still not sure.
It's been a very good experience. Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, so are we
organising it?
Brilliant. Well, I better then say
it's tiring, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah.
You need to tell people to stay hydrated. I think it's like, it's like being in a conference, isn't it? It's by the middle of the afternoon.
Intense. I'd like some lunch.
It's really hard.
And in a real case, we've just been so conscious of the time that we're taking. In a real case, you would have a proper lunch break, and you probably have more breaks. We haven't given anyone enough breaks, and I think that's really important.
We had lunch on the study that was done in Israel on bail applications, by the way.
Sorry, say again?
They did a study in Israel and they found that people were more likely to get bail after the judge's election.
Was that what the pumpkin was the
lunch?
That's a bit scary.
Yeah, your body sugars and everything are all sort of over the place. I want food.
Oh, shall I just say bring this back in?
Yeah.
We'll go around to it. We're not agreed, but we'll just. I mean, shall we just?
How close were we?
Was it three of us who still on?
Three to 9.
Yes. Well, I'm afraid that's an acquittal. Sorry, everybody.
Well,
don't worry.
Not agreed. We're not agreed. That's the answer, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're not agreed. We don't need to tell them the numbers.
Fine.
But if they did it on the majority, because they do sometimes, don't they? Pardon?
And the majority would be 10-2.
You can only have 9 if you start losing some jurors.
Oh. Oh well.
If this was a real case, how long could we go on if the 9 and the 3 of us didn't change our mind? Would they leave it?
Probably about another 2.5, 3 hours, and then he'd say, "I'm going to discharge you."
Crikey.
I think we'd have to go back through every witness and just go through their evidence again, or something. But I don't know how we'd break the impasse.
Well, we would be able to tell the judge that it's not realistic to keep us any longer. There's no realistic prospect from where we are. And the judge might take a view.
Yeah.
Anyway, have we told the judge we can't reach a verdict?
I have, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we improved our position. Well, whichever way you want to look at it.
I think we gave it a really good shot.
I think so. Yeah.
Satisfied that we attempted it properly.
I think you've got something here. I'm not sure for long trials, but for those sort of each way offences that come before the Crown Court, these kind of one day, I can see very well.
Yeah, I agree.
think so. Yeah, much better than
any longer than a day. It'd be hard going, I think.
Yeah.
You know.
You definitely got to build a good break in halfway through as well.
I'm
finding it all of my work. You know, I'm trying to ask people for phone conversations now because I'm getting bored of all the Zoom calls. It's so tiring.
Yeah.
Social stuff. I found
hi, Jodie. The court are ready to bring you back in, so I just wanted to let you know if you'd like to mute yourselves again, please. And thanks. And prepare yourselves to come back into the court.
Thanks, everybody.
And there may be a chance for you to sort of debrief after the proceedings, where you'll be pulled back into this virtual meeting room to chat amongst yourselves for a short period if you wish to. Thanks.